Given A is 2 over x plus 3 and B is x minus 2 over 3, find the values of A plus B. That means we need to add up these two fractions and simplify them and check which one of these is the answer. Let us start. So first, this is my value of A, 2 over x plus 3. I've just copied down. Plus, because the question first part says add them together, plus B which is x minus 2 over 3. So I've just copied it down as well. When we have two fractions that we need to add them together, we're going to make sure that they have the same denominator. So this one, okay, has a x plus 3, but it does not have the 3 here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move it away and multiply the denominator of the first fraction with a 3. And of course, if I multiply the denominator with a 3, I also have to multiply the numerator also with a 3. But for this to make them have the same type of denominator, we have got a 3 here, so we got a 3 here, but it doesn't have that x plus 3 that's found in the first fraction on the second fraction. So I'm just going to put the x plus 3 for the denominator. So for this second fraction, I'm going to multiply the denominator with x plus 3. And of course, whatever number that I multiply the denominator with, I got to multiply the numerator also with the same number, because 3 over 3 is basically a 1. So 1, you can multiply anything by 1 and it doesn't change, right? So that's the logic what we are going to use for this. So for this, numerator is 2 times 3. Now, what are we going to multiply the numerator of the second fraction with? If I multiply the denominator with x plus 3, of course you're right, okay? So you're going to multiply the numerator also with the x plus 3. And then the next step is all you need to do is to simplify. Your denominator, of course, I can write a 3 in the front. So 3 times the x plus 3, so I'm writing it at the back. And numerator is 2 times 3. So 2 bracket 3. Now let's go to this, the denominator 3 times x plus 3. So you can see now the denominator have become exactly alike. So for this, numerator is x minus 2 times the x plus 3. So the next step would be, let's just copy down the denominator. 2 times a 3 for this numerator is twice of 3 is a 6. Now we're going to expand this brackets. There are 2 brackets, each of the brackets containing 2 terms. Of course, when I expand, I'm going to get a 2 times a 2, which is going to be altogether 4 terms. So let us start with the first term against the first term. X multiplied by x is going to give me x squared. So square of x, x times x. So what would I do next? X times plus 3. So x times plus 3 would give me plus 3x. So that is your second term. So we are done with that x. Now we are going to go for the minus 2. So we're going to take the minus 2 and multiply by the x. So minus 2 times the x is going to become minus 2x. And then we have got a minus 2 times a plus 3. Negative number and a positive number. Negative times positive is going to give me a negative and then a 6. Right. So now if you look at this numerator, you can also see that it could be further simplified. Plus 3x and minus 2x, they are like terms because they are all both in terms of x. So we can simplify plus 3x minus 2x. So you gain 3x and you lose 2x. You're going to have just an x. So I can just change that to a plus x. So this is the simplified numerator of this fractions. Now since the denominators are equal, so we could combine the fractions together. And since it is just a plus sign, we can put the common denominator. So your numerator is simply going to be 6 plus x squared plus x minus 6. Now what we can cancel now? There's a plus 6 and there's a minus 6, positive 6 and negative 6. If we cancel, is going to become 0. So we need not write that. So on the numerator, what we just have is a plus x squared and a plus x. Now in the plus x square and plus x, there is still x square means x times x and x means just an x. So there is a common factor of 1x. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take out one of the x's. So of course, if I pull that out, an x out of the x square, so it's going to become an x, and from the x, if I pull out an x, of course that's going to be a 1. Alternatively, you can always check back. Okay, x times x is going to give you x square, x times a 1 is going to give you 1x, which is of course just an x. So when we look at the addition of these two fractions, we can see that it should be x times x plus 1 over 3 times x plus 3. That leaves an option B or D as a possible answers. But of course, we cannot conclude it until we have performed the subtraction of the two fractions. So let's look at how we can perform subtraction. Now we're going to do exactly the same way as what we did for addition. So we need to make them have the common denominator. So we're going to multiply the first fraction's numerator and denominator with a 3 and a 3. And for the second fraction, we're going to multiply the numerator and denominator with x plus 3 and the x plus 3. So you multiply by the 3 for the numerator, and for this second fraction you multiply the numerator by x plus 3. Then the denominator becomes 3 times x plus 3, and the numerator is simply a 2 times 3. And for the second fraction, 3 times x plus 3 is still the denominator, and the numerator is the multiplication of these two brackets. Okay, so x minus 2 times x plus 3. So now let's copy down just the denominator alone. So 2 times 3, let's evaluate the numerator for this fraction. That would of course be a 6. And now we're going to expand this just like what we did for addition as well. So x times x is a x square, and x times plus 3 is going to become plus 3x. Now we have got minus 2 times x, that's a minus 2x. And then we have got a minus 2 times plus 3 will of course become minus 6. So there we have it. Now once again we can see the numerator, there is a plus 3x and a minus 2x, which we can simplify, and that would of course become plus 1x. So we can just put them nicely together. X square plus x minus 6, okay, is the numerator for the second fraction. Now whenever there is a subtraction or a minus sign, okay, between two fractions and it involves algebra, so you got to be very, very careful, because every one of the terms on the numerator of this fraction is going to change sign. So plus x square would become minus x square, plus x would become minus x, minus 6 would become plus 6, okay, because of the minus sign. And therefore it's very important for you to put a bracket, so that would make sure that you do not end up making any careless mistakes. So you can see that I have included a bracket for whatever the numerator of the second fraction, the numerator, because there is a negative sign. So very often students end up making careless mistakes because they only write down the minus for the x square and they leave these two terms as, you know, plus x and minus 6. And that's the reason why I always, you know, tell my students to make it a habit to put a bracket here. So now let's expand the minus sign for each of them. So minus times plus x square is going to become minus x square, and then we have a minus times a plus x is going to give us minus x, and we have got minus times minus 6, minus of the minus become plus. So you can see when you compare the step 3 to this step, you can see every one of the term on the numerator has got now the opposite signs. Now there's this plus 6 and there is another plus 6 here. They are both numbers, so we can add them together. So first we can rearrange first. So that's a plus 6, I just throw it over to the end. So now it's also in descending order. We got the squared term, then x, and then we have got the constant. So 6 and a 6 together add up to a 12. So therefore the numerator is minus x square minus x plus 12. Now from this we could just pull out a minus sign. So when I take out a minus sign, this becomes minus x square become plus x square, and minus x becomes a positive x, and plus 12 becomes a negative 12. Now the reason why I want to do that is because I want to be able to factorize this x square plus x minus 12. So let's put the minus sign, and when we perform the factorization of this, it's going to be simply x minus 3 times x plus 4. Now of course at this stage you might be thinking, you know, is this going to be actually the multiplication of this? Would it end up giving me this? Let's check. X times x is going to give you x square. That's true. Then now we have got a plus 4. So 4 times the x is a 4x. Minus 3 times x is minus 3x. From 4x you subtract the 3x. Of course that will give you 1x. So that's a plus x. Minus 3 times plus 4 is a minus 12. So you can check that this is exactly the same as this expanded version. So of course now you are performing the reverse of it. It's called the factorization. And then we have got a minus sign here. I can throw that minus sign into the first bracket. So this would actually simply become minus x. So you can see here the minus x. Minus of the minus 3 would become plus 3. So basically it is x minus 3 has been swapped to become 3 minus x by throwing in the negative sign, and we end up getting 3 minus x and x plus 4 as your numerator, and denominator is 3 times x plus 3. That leaves only the option B with the correct value for the a minus b, and hence option B is the correct option.